Hi, sir. There are conflicting messages, on the Sino-U.S. discussions.
From the 路德 asked the question, social media.
Yeah. The question is from Mr. Lude. So President Pence was saying that there will be no deal, but President Trump was saying the reverse. So what exactly is happening?
Here's, I think, the important thing to keep in mind. Vice President Pence's speech at the Hudson Institute. Every blogger, every commenter, I think every citizen of China should read it and study it, because it's probably the most significant, important speech has been given about American-Chinese relationships in 50, 60 years. What he said is that we understand that we have a very close relationship with the Chinese people, a very close relationship with the country of China. But what you've had is this kind of radical cadre of the CCP that is forced in all aspects of society, basically war, information war, and economic war, as outlined in the book Unrestricted Warfare, which you should know I carry around almost like a Bible to study, right? I study this all the time. These are my notes, right? That says that the American government and the American people understand China's not the enemy, the Chinese people are not the enemy, but a radical element of the CCP is the enemy. And all forces of our government, information warfare, economic warfare, will be arrayed against them, as personified by the trade deal. Now, President Trump is one of the master negotiators in the world. And he understands that Wang Qishan and others around him in that cadre are trying to play games and trying to put up for the stock market, right? Of which people have to understand the CCP is trying to manipulate the stock market, right? They're buying on days that they say the Americans are closer to a deal, and they're selling on days that Americans are not close to a deal. It's all a game, okay? And sophisticated people, the Lighthisers and the Navarros and the people leading those negotiations know it's a game. So what Wang Qishan, right, and the radical cadre that literally are keeping the Chinese people in serfdom, right, are in trying to take all the wealth of China for themselves, are trying to have all this very superficial negotiations on just optics, where they're going to buy trillions of dollars of stuff in the United States that's never going to be effective. The one thing with President Trump, and I think that's why you see the unity of it as personified by Vice President Pence's speech, is that there are now people, the Lighthisers, the Stephen Millers, the Peter Navarros, the Steve Bannons, the Mike Pences, others, right, that understand, the new Defense Secretary Shanahan, right, Mike Pompeo, right, John Bolton, right, that understand that this is all a game that's being played, that not just simply hurts the American people, it hurts the Chinese people more than that.
Yes.
And so I think that I would tell your bloggers, the people who came, understand that people at a very sophisticated level, and that's why there's not going to be any, even if you hear about potential deals or whatever, this conflict is going to go on for quite a while. And here's why it's going to go on for quite a while. This conflict is about the Chinese people, right? It's about the freedom of the Chinese people, right? It's about the Chinese people not having to live under fear. It's about the Chinese people not having to live under intimidation, right? It's about the Chinese people understanding they have basic human rights, right? And they don't have to be imprisoned. They don't have to be beaten. Their property doesn't have to be taken, right? Their ancestors have done too much to make China the great nation it is today, to have the Chinese people be abused, right? Terrorized, right? Imprisoned, maybe even killed or committed suicide by a totalitarian dictatorship run by radicals like Wang Qishan and President Xi. And so I think that they should, view it in that entire context.
100% correct. I think, sir, many Chinese want to know your opinion. This is very helpful. Thank you very much. I think 路德 is really happy. 路德呀，专为你采访了半农先生。今天是1月19号，现在是下午几点 I think it's the 130啊，1.30供你使用啊。谢谢班农先生。
Like for example, those Chinese entrepreneur or political people, right? So how to protect them? Like for example, they are arrested by Wang Qishan, or some of them their assets are confiscated by the Chinese government, like what they did to Mao. So how to protect them? How to help them? Like a political asylum, and then any ways to help them? What's your suggestion?
I think it's number one, the absolute exposure of what's happening to them on a world platform. That you just like the press conference, you're setting the narrative for what this story is and the injustice that's happening to them at the hands of an unjust government, right? Mm-hmm. So number one, it's telling their story with complete clarity. Yeah. So everybody understands their innocence and what the government's done to them, right? Number two, I think, is to use all means necessary, right, in the governments of the West, and that would include not just the United States, but the United Kingdom, Switzerland, other like-minded countries. I think now Brazil, which I think would be a big partner of ours, to make sure we give them political asylum, right? Number two, so give them political asylum in the safety of themselves, their employees, and their relatives. And number three, and I think
我这录像的时候没给任何人说啊。
international financial institutions in those countries, like the international investment banks, the international commercial banks, the International Monetary Fund, the IMF, the World Bank, to put pressure on China, and specifically in regards to and law firms and accounting firms that deal with China in regards to these people's assets have been stolen, so they get their assets back. So I think it's threefold. Number one, to tell their stories and to make sure the whole world understands this, right? For pressure on China. Right. Number two, it's political pressure by getting them asylum, political asylum for them and their families. And number three, it's financial pressure by putting pressure on the collaborators. And let's say what they are: the banks, the law firms, the accounting firms, the commercial banks, the investment banks, the hedge funds, the private equity funds, the venture capital funds are in partnership for these people being abused. And what we intend to do is to go to not just the funds, but the sources of their money, to go to the union funds, the teachers funds, etc., and say, how can you give to this private equity fund? How can you give to this hedge fund? How can you give to this bank that's supporting a government that does this to innocent people, particularly innocent people that have accomplished something in life, commercially, about building a business, of building assets. This is one of the key things of the rule of law fund.
Right. Yeah. 你说说吧。
Does that work?
Yeah.
Yes.
Fantastic. This I want.
他说呢，这个首先第一呢，要把这些事情、这个故事、这些很完整的跟全世界公告，把这个人 sustainable things continuously, yeah. And then we will have to keep all the information strictly confidential.
Yeah,
with
with
code
code
names,
names.
Information will restore environment without internet connection. So make sure that people are, comfortable.
Total confidentiality.
Yes.
Okay, I love that.
Yeah. So management structure, we have directors and also the management. Yeah. So the directorship is a charitable position.
Yeah.
Directors emoluments of $1 per annum.
Yeah.
Directors we
But
have.
you have the two process. The first time is 3 director. Later we have the 5. Then
Okay. So directors we have the director liability insurance covered.
Yep.
Directors,
the DNO.
DNO, yes, exactly. And the directors' traveling accommodation expenses spent directly related to the activities of the organization will be reimbursed.
Okay.
The daily operation of organization is managed by the board of directors.
Okay.
The term of each director is 2 years, and each director could apply for re-election after the expiry of terms. So 2年期 to have a summary procedures for political asylum and residency. So, and also the second thing is to assist them, to protect them, and also assist them. Basically, the action plan is to provide them financial assistance, legal advice, bodyguards, accommodation, something like that. We could discuss whether, we could give them some money. But this is Okay, the third thing is to promote exposure of corruption and illegal activities.
Hang on, I'm just catching up here.
Okay,
Hang on. Okay,
yeah, the objective and action.
I got
plans.
yeah. Okay, protect their assets.
Yes. And then thirdly,
Is it protect their assets in China and overseas, or just overseas?
protect their assets. Maybe we don't need to specify that. Yeah.
Right.
But of course, to protect the assets in China, probably it's difficult for us to do anything in China.
Yeah. The only trouble you get into is small donors.
Okay, so our intention is we will get nothing from the
Exactly.
small.
I would never take a penny from small
because
donors.
we don't need to register, right?
And you don't want the hassle.
But there is important
Because
things.
I tell you, I will tell you this: the first 100 donors you get, small donors, will be all CCP agents.
Exactly.
And they'll say,
Exactly.
"Hey, Miles
Exactly.
Kwok lied to me.
So-
Miles Kwok didn't do this."
So this
Miles
is
Kwok-"
something I want to do because I have a charity organization in Hong
Yeah.
Kong as well. This is something is.
Why you so genius in the CCP more than me? This must be
You told me to be
This
totally
is very
serious.
important. Okay. So for the members, could we
I love you.
make it as a two-class members? One is the voting members, one is non-voting.
You don't need voting members. Don't do that. You don't. You have a
No,
100.
but the
Why?
point is who elect the directors? It's supposed to be members elect the directors, right? Members elect the directors.
I think what it is the founders. If you go back and look at the documents, like for instance, on my C4, right? I'm the founding member.
Yes.
I elect now. I only have 3 direct.